I have lived in India and in some African countries. And here is how different I noticed being middle class in India comparatively to Africa. First of all, the middle class is, to make it in simple terms, which don't have numbers and all those things, I think middle class should be just someone who can afford most of the service and goods that are presented. Like most of the things which are just around. Yeah. So, some differences which they have. In lifestyle, for example, a middle class in India have access to most modern things. That means ordering food online, having a smartphone, having a PC, but much more focus on having a career and education. That's like the top priority, which it's somehow exactly similar to Africa. But in Africa, I think the very first sign of being middle class is living in a kind of urban area. But not only that, even while being in the city, having access to education and health, which sometimes because of trying to get much better, they result in going abroad. So middle class in Africa are the ones who easily go abroad, which I think might be actually the same in India. About housing, in India, middle class rents or own houses. In Africa, not really the same. The cost of living in most African countries is still higher comparatively to most places in India. That owning is middle class, but getting a little bit better. But again, somehow it's too close to living as a middle class in India comparatively to an African house. When it comes to education, in India, that's the top priority of a middle class family. You must pass all your exams, you must be good at school, you must get a degree, you must be good at your career, you must get a job, and somehow everything that a family of a middle class does, it's for the sake of making sure that there is education in that family much more again. So I would just say a middle class in India, education is everything. It's so important for it, which again is somehow the same in African houses. But as I said previously, mostly a middle class family turn to send their children abroad, or at least one or a few of them. But I honestly feel as if there is not so much pressure of your performance on education in Africa comparatively to how it is in India. Like in India, you usually watch people having trauma over trying to be so good at school or getting some specific marks, which yes, everyone wants to pass even in Africa, but the degree at which it's needed to be really good at it, it's somehow elevated than how it is in African houses. Now, let's finish up with transport. In India, middle class mostly have a car or a motorcycle, and if they use public transports, it might be stuff like train, airplane, and others. When it comes to Africa, having a car is already a luxury. That it's not something which we can expect in most middle class people. But since motorcycles are not mostly used in families, either for taxi, they are not so often seen in so many houses in Africa. Anyways, if you have much more information that you can share about how middle class life is, feel free to share. Thanks so much for being here. Catch you next time.